And what's up, guys? Let's go ahead and jump into some quick details with severe weather here. Got about a quick 10 minutes here to chat about all of this, and we'll kind of break this down very quick for you guys and kind of explain it all into details. So we have some slight, maybe low ends here, rest here today across the cold front that comes moving off to the southeast across Wisconsin into northern Illinois this afternoon to evening. I'm not expecting a ton of threat with this, but there is still the chance of a low-end tornado risk. Sorry, my jaw is really hurting. A low-end tornado risk, there's about a 2% tornado risk. You got the 10%, well, there's supposed to be a 15% wind risk, but it's not showing up right now. There is oh no, that's for the stuff out west, okay. So there is about a 15% hail risk because these isolated supercells develop along the cold front and move off to the southeast. There is a low end wind risk, but don't rule out the chance for maybe isolated chances of 55 plus gust with some of the stronger cells, and you have a low end tornado risk there as well. And here's your main category risk by the SPC that does extend into the Chicagoland area, and that stuff will be moving off to the southeast later on today. So let's go ahead and highlight what our radar is going to be looking like. We'll go to models here, and we'll go to the Huron. 15Z is just out now. We'll go out to the composite reflectivity. We'll kind of put this in perspective here. Oh, no, we gotta go back another run here. One second. Alright, so we put this in perspective here. We get about 3 to 4 p.m. some isolated cells develop here across portions of southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois, and those guys push off to the southeast very quickly. But in these couple of cells around like maybe between 4 and 6 p.m., there's like a few couple of good isolated cells, maybe some hail cores showing up, maybe some damage winds, maybe a low-end tornado threat there that do develop here across the area. Now to be determined if these are actually, supercells or outflow dominant supercells with more of a hail and wind risk versus a tornado risk. Kind of depends on its boundary, its outflow. If it pushes off an outflow boundary, likely going to be outflow dominant. If it's feeding off an outflow boundary from like maybe a storm out ahead of it, sucks that in, kind of get like this hook echo, maybe get some inflow there, then you would have some of a low end tornado risk. I'm not expecting the wind shear to be absolutely strong up there today, but there is a decent 500 flow over the area as those storms do come in. Here's your 700 millibar, here's your 850 there, here's your 925, but they're all kind of out of the west. So I think any tornado interaction today is going to be off those boundaries today because I'm not really seeing much turning in the atmosphere. And look at your helicity track here with a couple of these cells here that do develop out of southern Wisconsin to northern Illinois later on today. There is some helicity tracks indicating that some of these storms could be rotating or be some large hail producing supercells for the most part. And if we look at our surface-based CAPE for the most part between 4 and 6 p.m., there is some CAPE there that does develop here across northern Illinois, indicating that maybe southern Wisconsin to northern Illinois is maybe the prime area for seeing those storms later on today, based on its stability and everything else that does develop with it. But significant tornado perimeters are likely with a couple of these cells out of southern Wisconsin to northern Illinois. That will be moving probably between like 3 and 7 p.m. Could be a couple of these cells along the boundary that gets sagged to the south. It could be the cold front, could be another boundary. You see there's a couple boundary interactions here coming up by the Hearst. So you got this boundary here that's dragging by this storm, it's moving this way, and then you got the initial cold front right there. So you got the cold front there slamming to the south, it looks like, and you got this interaction boundary here which has that cell pushing off to the south just like that. You can see that boundary there, that's the cold front, and it's still feeding off this other boundary off to the right. So you got the interaction there, you got some pulling surface winds, maybe getting some turning in your low levels, and that would be your low end tornado threat. Maybe a mesoscale accident today if that does happen. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I was trying to close this. Okay. But that's what I'm currently looking at here. Currently, we go back another run here. It's very consistently showing that low end tornado threat there across the area around like 4 to 5 or 6 p.m. Yeah, those guys just continuously move off to the south. And it shows, it's very consistent showing a cell along the front, getting up there around that time frame. So we'll see. We might head up there, headed north, just to go check it out near Rockford today. Probably go north and probably see what we can get as a low end tornado threat today up there. Not expecting too much, but there's a possible chance. What else see this add pivotal versus just that real quick. So what is our pivotal model saying? I'll go to the RFS here. So pivotal also picking this up. I mean not pivotal, RFS picking this up, so out ahead of the boundary. A little bit of a turning at your levels, but like weak at the point. Not too much. So I am watching a little bit of northern Illinois along that boundary at Sag South. Could probably get a weak tornado. Maybe spin up today across northern Illinois and not giving it too much of a high end risk, obviously, because your photographs are not that curvature. There has to be interaction between boundaries to get that curvature in the photographs. But there's maybe a very low end chance. But it is showing a lone supercell coming out of northern Illinois around a certain time frame that becomes maybe long track for the most part. And they're kind of fast moving too. So it's kind of like a MCV or maybe some circulation there. So there's off the front, but there's another boundary here. Like I said, the interaction kind of pulls the winds in there. 0 to 3 km helicity on there, and the area is about 100. Could get some large hell up there today near Rockford. Well, your 200 and 300 millibar winds. Your lapse rates up there are pretty decent today as well. Here's your lapse rates. Well, no, they're not actually decent at all. The only thing saving you guys today is maybe your 3 km. And your Cape values to combine with the 200 and 300 millibar jet above, but your lapse rates are a little bit weak. But your 3 km Cape up there is pretty high. So you could squeeze out a low end tornado threat today up there. Just really depends. It would be really funny though if you could get maybe one isolated supercell up there to come in, produces the quick bird fart tornado maybe somehow, and that would be it. Not expecting too much with it, but there is the low end chance there's some severe weather across northern Illinois today, so I do give it that. I believe StarMet was picking this up too. Yeah, around like maybe a low end chance between 3 and 7 p.m. here. Even StormNet is picking this up here. What about the hell risk here? Definitely picking up some decent hell risk here. And then the wind risk. It's definitely picking up on wind risk here near Rockford between 6 and 7 p.m. So it's picking up on a couple supercells that maybe develop along the boundary or the cold front and Sag Southeast. It's probably between 4 and 7 p.m. up there. So we'll just watch to see how those do develop and then go from there at this point. But that's what it's picking up on. So it's picking up on the hell risk there across that area too, between 6 and 7 p.m. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see how this does develop. If we go up there today, I'll probably leave around 1, get up there maybe, or leave around 2, and kind of determine what we're doing from there. Let's look at the visible satellite. There's a boundary coming south. That could be one of the fronts. You can see right there, there is a boundary right there of some sort, an outflow boundary maybe from overnight storms that's coming south. But other than that, besides those details, we're going to go ahead and jump in talking about the rest of the severe weather risk. So we got Thursday, out here across the Kansas and Oklahoma border, which will be the system that comes to us on Thursday across southern Illinois. So right here, there's a really nice boundary here set up across the Kansas and Oklahoma border region area where you could get a few supercells, maybe some strong tornado threat there. Models are really picking up on a strong tornado threat there for Thursday across the area. So we'll have to watch that for sure. Not to be determined if it does absolutely go bonkers there. But there's definitely a chance that this will be developing. But there's no cap at the time that the storms initiate on that triple point of that boundary. LCI heights are pretty low and Cape values are high. I do like this boundary play here across Kansas and Oklahoma border region area. There's definitely good perimeters here for a couple isolated strong tornadoes. Now, depending if these storms stay discrete and don't really mess up and kind of don't go into a big wind complex, then we'll probably get a strong tornado out of it before it goes upscale pretty quick. And then we talk about Friday's severe weather here across portions of southern Illinois. The boundary and the low is at southern Illinois' mercy again. It does show a few supercells developing with that across southern Illinois and moving east. So there we go again with that possible tornado risk there at MCV, and there is a heightened tornado perimeters across the area for southern Illinois again on Friday. So similar outlook for southern Illinois for what we just saw a few days ago with the MCV, but this is not guaranteed. It all depends on how the system comes out. But there is really strong winds at your surface, all the way down to your surface winds. There is a pretty decent strong 850 millibar there. Lapse rates here are pretty decent as well for the most part. You got your instability here building up for the most part along this boundary here. So I do see a tornado threat here on Friday across southern Illinois, and I believe StormNet is definitely picking this up as well, just with that system coming in. So we got Thursday, and then we got Friday here across southern Illinois. So Friday right here across southern Illinois is picking up a tornado risk there on StormNet, so we have to watch that. Your outlook right now for those days, you got the significant tornado risk, 5% there across the Kansas-Oklahoma border. And you got Friday's severe risk, but they haven't really highlighted anything for Southern Illinois yet, which I'm really confused why SPC is keeping it so low. But we'll kind of watch that and see how that determines, because the models and StormNet are picking up stuff for Friday. So all I can say is stay tuned for later updates, and we'll go from there.